Europe is the second most densely populated continent on Earth. It's home to 4 of the world's 10 biggest economies. But if you look at a list of the world's biggest cities, Europe's nowhere to be seen. Despite its population density and economic power, Europe doesn't have any cities on the scale of those found in Asia, the Americas, or even Africa. But there's an idea brewing in Europe that might just change that. Today on our channel, we're taking a look at a very early stage concept that could change Western Europe forever. This is the idea of Tri-State City, a metropolis that stretches over 3 countries and will be home to up to 45 million people. To put it simply, the Tri-State City is a new metropolitan region that's being proposed in the heart of Europe. Not a massive concrete jungle, but an open emerging megacity that combines the existing strengths of each of its regions. Tri-State would merge major parts of the Netherlands with the Flanders region of Belgium and the North Rhine-Westphalia region of Germany, stretching all the way from Amsterdam to Brussels to Cologne. Let's just let that sink in for a second. This is an area spread over 3 separate countries, 3 languages, 3 cultures, 3 governments, hundreds of cities and towns. Tri-State would link them all together into one international network. And that word network is critical. Tri-State isn't a construction project for a new city. It's a bold vision that's supposed to change how we think about this area of Europe. Yes, building infrastructure is crucial for this plan, but what is more important is the reimagining of the region. Rather than have various cities involved competing against each other in the international market, Tri-State would present them as one unit, one network. People and businesses that are currently based in different cities and towns in this area are suddenly a part of a much bigger plan. Each individual city, with their specializations in different industries, would become more like districts in a giant metropolis. This also makes them more attractive for investments. It sounds like a stretch, I know, especially when comparing this area with current megacities like Tokyo, but it's not quite as outrageous as it sounds. In fact, the Netherlands is kind of already doing it, to a smaller extent. This is the Netherlands. It's a tiny, flat country in Western Europe, most of which would be underwater if it wasn't for dams and flood barriers and the like. Despite being less than a third of the size of New York State, the Netherlands was actually once the most powerful country in the world. Back in the 1600s, they ruled the oceans and actually held the world's first reserve currency, the guilder. Nowadays, the Netherlands is still one of the richest countries in the world. And, compared to its European neighbors, it's also one of the most densely populated. So if something like this ever happens in Europe, it will be in this area. At the moment, the country is basically divided into 2 parts, the Randstad and the rest. The Randstad, home to almost half the country, is by far the most densely populated part of the Netherlands. It covers the 4 main cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague, and Utrecht. Each has its own specialization, and efficient transport links make it easy for goods, people, and ideas to move around. Amsterdam is a financial capital, and The Hague is where the government is based. Logistics are run from the port city of Rotterdam, while Utrecht is a hub for education and research. With each city playing to its own strengths, there is less internal competition, and the Randstad as a whole is more diversified and more resilient. More broadly, the Netherlands is prosperous, and outside of the Randstad's economic centers, there are a lot of farms. In fact, agriculture is a major Dutch industry. After the USA, the Netherlands is actually the second biggest exporter of agricultural products in the world. We'll come back to that later. But for now, the important point is that the vast majority of these exports go to Belgium and Germany. As such, there are already well-developed trade links between the Netherlands and its neighbors. All 3 countries use the euro, and for the most part the borders are invisible, meaning that tens of thousands of people cross them every day. Take all those factors into consideration, and we can start to understand the Tri-State vision. The Randstad is already one huge network of cities, and Tri-State would simply roll that model out, encompassing the neighboring regions of Belgium and Germany with which it is already close, and repositioning the Netherlands as an international hub. And that's where this man comes in. Peter Savelberg, urban planner and the visionary behind the Tri-State City project. He believes that the Netherlands has fallen behind in the international market. Tri-State, he says, is the solution. In recent years, we have seen enormous urbanization, with 70 to 80% of the world population in very large urban areas. This means that the world economy is also concentrated in those big cities, and we need to relate to that not as a country or small Dutch cities, but as a whole with the Netherlands, Flanders, and North Rhine-Westphalia together. Mr. Savelberg thinks that the future of the world economy lies in its megacities, that they can attract investment and talent in a way that smaller cities and even countries cannot. The answer for the Netherlands, as he sees it, is to redesign the way existing cities interact across the Tri-State region, bringing them together into a 21st century urban project that's greater than the sum of its parts. About 30 million people live within this triangle, and 150 billion in internal trade volume circulates within it. We want to present the Netherlands as a large green megacity to the world, with a goal of offering the business community an international showcase to promote exports, and Mr. Savelberg is not alone. After first pitching the project in 2013, he spent the next few years bringing on several high-profile backers, including real estate developers, a major international law firm, and the Netherlands' biggest employers organization. These organizations represent the interests of the people and businesses who would actually make Tri-State work. With Mr. Savelberg at the helm, they call themselves the Tri-State City Network, and together they built the case for the project. As well as the economic advantages we've already discussed, the Tri-State City Network sees several potential environmental benefits from the project. With effective and modern urban planning, Tri-State could improve energy efficiency across the region, reducing the area's carbon footprint through the use of smart technology and synchronized energy networks. This kind of network has already been successfully tested elsewhere. Hague, in the Pearl River Delta, China has been building its own megacity since 2009. In a project similar to Tri-State, they have been linking urban centers across the region and integrating their energy networks. In doing so, the Pearl River Delta has improved the stability and reliability of their electricity supply. They reduce energy losses, optimize resources, and reduce emissions per person. Tri-State would use a similar method of energy network integration to improve their existing systems. The economies of scale that come with a bigger area and population would allow the megacity to spread investment and more efficiently integrate renewables into the network. Similarly, an integrated public transport system could significantly reduce carbon emissions and provide a viable alternative to cars and air travel. In one of the official documents from the Tri-State City Network, we see a map of the region showing transport links. These links, presumably a mixture of conventional and high-speed rail, show two different types of networks within Tri-State. The first, shown in yellow, are major international lines connecting Tri-State to important nearby cities like London, Paris, and Berlin. The second, in a variety of colors, show what the graphic refers to as clusters. It seems like these clusters would serve as regional networks within the broader Tri-State city and connect to one another at key intersections. Interestingly, the map also includes part of France, perhaps hinting that Tri-State ultimately has ambitions further afield. The point here is that centralized planning for the transport network would allow people to move around like they do in Randstad, where public transport is popular and efficient. Rather than having separate cities with separate networks, Tri-State could provide one integrated system that lets people travel across the whole region as easily as they do within their hometown. And here, in the south of the Netherlands, this kind of transport system is already underway. Although not officially part of the Tri-State project, this railway is being called the Tri-State train and has already been approved to service cities in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. As of last year, the line now runs between Maastricht, Liege, and Aachen. This is a small step, and, as you can see, the network is tiny compared to what would be required for Tri-State. But it does prove that the three countries can work together to operate shared infrastructure. And working together would be crucial. Peter Savelberg has taken care to point out that Tri-State does not have any bureaucratic ambitions, meaning is not looking to create another form of government for the region. Rather, he wants to focus on building a network within which the cities can work together to drive growth and prosperity. Just how Tri-State could have an integrated energy and transport network without some sort of centralized authority remains up for debate. In fact, the lack of government backing is one of the biggest problems that Tri-State faces. Despite having launched the project over 10 years ago, Peter Savelberg is yet to receive any official governmental support. The Tri-State City Network that Mr. Savelberg formed hasn't really managed to push the project forward, and the vision of the megacity remains predominantly his. As such, Tri-State is still pretty much in a conceptual phase, in need of funds and official support. But despite the early stage of the project, one group of people say they are already being affected, and they are not happy about it. Farmers. How? Well, it may sound strange, but it comes down to land and nitrogen. You see, as we mentioned earlier, the Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of agricultural products in the world. Dutch farms produce everything from cheese and beef to flowers and fruit and export them across the world. Unfortunately, generating all that produce in such a small space means that they also use pretty intensive farming techniques to make it happen. These techniques, both through fertilizers and through animal waste, produce large amounts of nitrous oxide, a greenhouse gas that's almost 300 times more polluting than carbon dioxide. The EU has strict controls over nitrous oxide levels, and the Netherlands needs to cut their emissions in half by 2030 in order to meet them. So, since 2019, a €1.5 billion joint project between the Netherlands and the EU has been buying out farms across the country. The plan, to reduce Dutch livestock numbers by a third. Although farmers have, until now, been selling voluntarily, there's pressure from environmental groups to speed up the process and force farmers to retire. The government should force farmers to stop. It has to happen now, and it will be painful. Farmers have to be told you will need to quit, and we will withdraw your license. We will compensate you, but you have to stop. So, how does this all relate to Tri-State? Well, not everyone believes that the buyouts are about protecting the environment. Caroline van der Plas, Dutch politician and founder of the Farmer Citizen Movement, puts it simply when asked why farmers should sell up. Why should they? This is their life. It's like they are criminals, like they are doing something bad. They produce food. Except for water and oxygen, we need food. But damage the nature at the same time? No, that's bullcrap, I would say. Ms. van der Plas simply doesn't believe that agriculture is the problem, but others take things one step further. The argument building amongst some farmers and right-wing activists is that the Dutch government is manipulating the nitrogen crisis and evicting farmers from their land to make room for Tri-State. Speaking on Jordan Peterson's podcast, Michael Jan said the following: "Don't forget Tri-State City." What is that Tri-State City? What's the idea there? Tri-State City is meant to be a mega-smart city between the Tri-States, which would be Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, where those borders come together. This megacity, which many Dutch have actually not heard of, involves taking this farmer's land and making this megacity there to bring people from all over the world. It may sound conspiratorial, but this narrative exists. Over the last few years, Dutch farmers have been protesting en masse against the nitrogen reduction policies, driving tractors into The Hague and causing the biggest traffic jams that the Netherlands has ever seen. Most are protesting the environmental restrictions directly, but behind the scenes, Peter Savelberg and his team have been receiving a lot of messages blaming Tri-State for the farm closures. So much so, in fact, that the official Tri-State City Network website has been forced to take down most of its content. Their contact page now reads, "Unfortunately, we are forced to temporarily get our contact details and chat box offline due to a gulf of unfriendly reactions from conspiracy thinkers and people who have clearly not bothered to really delve into the mission and the objectives of the Tri-State City concept." It's clear that the pressure being put on the Tri-State City Network from the agricultural industry is huge. On top of that, there are still no official connections between the Dutch government and the Tri-State project, something the website also takes care to point out. The network seems to be pretty shaken by the criticism they've received, and with their website reduced to the bare bones, the future for Tri-State now looks shaky. We're not taking a side either way, but the criticism seems to have been enough to at least put the project on hold. In an interview with Politico last year, Peter Savelberg said that the barrage of abuse he received had sickened him to the bone, going as far as to say that he had abandoned the idea. Tri-State City Network hasn't confirmed this, and their website just says that they are working on new images and a new storyline. As such, the next steps are unclear. Neither the Tri-State City Network nor Peter Savelberg himself have spoken publicly on the subject since early last year. And with the official website all but shut down, there's not really any more information out there that we haven't already covered in this video. For now, Tri-State City remains an idea, a vision of what this area of Europe could look like in the far future. In some ways, With the enhanced connectivity we experience in our day-to-day lives, the cities that would form Tri-State are destined to become more closely interconnected anyway. So the idea that these cities will continue to grow together remains. Even if Tri-State is only a thought experiment so far, do you think a megacity like this one is realistic in the distant future? And would that even be worthwhile? We are excited to read your comments on this controversial concept. Thank you for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.